Let's talk about summer jobs. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. Our topic today is summer jobs. Many decades ago, children were expected to work, and they worked on farms. They worked in shops. They worked doing a lot of chores, and this was managed within the family. Sometimes children wound up working under harsh conditions, perhaps in factories, and it was determined that they were being exploited. So in the United States, the child labor laws date back to the 1930s. These laws, federal and state, limited employment of children. The child labor laws prevented children younger than age 16 from working. And there were some exceptions, such as babysitting and delivering newspapers, tasks around the house. But a child couldn't just go out and get a job at age 14. They couldn't get an employer. They couldn't have a job. My first job as a young kid, as a young teenager, was mowing lawns. And this was in our neighborhood. People needed their lawn mowed, and it worked out rather well because the lawns, that is the grass around a house, tended to grow a lot during the summer because of a lot of sunlight and a lot of rain. So the homeowners needed to mow these lawns. And so it was fairly common for young kids, young teenagers, to offer their services to homeowners to mow lawns for a small amount of money. My recollection back when I was doing this, I received $2 or $3 for mowing a lawn. It wasn't very much money. For me, it was a great deal of money. So I mowed lawns mostly in the summer, but spring, summer, fall. I mowed lawns for several years, and I saved the money. Now, when a teenager has money in his or her pocket, the temptation is to spend that money on oneself. Candy, snacks, things to entertain oneself are bought with that kind of money. That wasn't my style. I saved the money. I mowed lawns and saved the money, always looking toward the future because I had a plan. Now, a little background, my parents were trained as photographers. My dad was a photographer in the Army Air Corps during World War II, and so he knew a great deal about photography, and he was very willing to teach me about it. So as a young teenager, he and I took pictures with his cameras, and then we developed them in the darkroom and printed them to paper, making photographs on paper prints. This was the time I was mowing lawns during the spring, summer, and fall, and making money and saving that money because I wanted my own camera. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted a camera like my dad's camera. I wanted a Zeiss Icon Coniflex Super B. That's what I wanted, for sure. And compared to the money I had, they seemed fairly expensive. But I was saving and saving and saving. Now, my parents had photography magazines in the house, and I would read them. And these magazines had advertisements. They had listings of companies selling cameras and photographic equipment. And I found a company in New York that was selling a Zeiss Icon Coniflex Super B, exactly what I wanted, at a price that was pretty good. It was less than I had saved already. So I was in business. I could use all that effort mowing lawns to get what I wanted, my own camera. Now, this was before the internet, and it was before I could drive. So I needed to get my mom to drive me to the post office. I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have a checking account. And so she drove me to the post office, and I purchased a money order for the amount of this camera. I put the money order and a note in an envelope and mailed it to New York to purchase my own camera. What happened next? Nothing. Crickets. Nothing. Because this was many years ago, before the internet. It took a long time for the order to get to New York. It took them some time to fill the order and ship it. And then it took a long time for the US Postal Service to bring the box to me. And unlike today, there were no notifications along the way. There were no notices coming to me that they had received my order or that my order had shipped. It was just silence. In other videos, we've talked about the risk of expectations. When we expect something and we compare it to what we get, frequently the response to the difference is an emotional response. We get upset, we get angry, we get frustrated. So we have to be careful about expectations. And I learned that in real time with this order. I mailed the order to New York and nothing happened. And then I tried to figure out how long it probably would take for the order to be shipped to me. And then I started going to the mailbox to meet the postman to receive my package. This ritual of going to the mailbox and waiting for the postal delivery played out over several weeks. I got to know the postman a lot better because he wanted to know why was I always at the mailbox when he arrived. What's up? He wanted to know. So I told him. It seemed to take forever. But one day, he showed up with a big smile on his face and a box. And he handed it to me. It was my camera. I looked at it. It seemed to weigh the right amount. I looked at the label, and it was from New York. It was from the company that I had mailed my money to. Wow, my camera had arrived. I took the box back to the house, opened it up, and there it was. It was a Zeiss Icon Coniflex Super B, just like my dad's, but this one was mine. I used that camera for years. My dad taught me how to take pictures using that camera. I took that camera to sporting events at the school and made photographs of the athletes and the band, various activities, and then we brought the film back to the house, developed it in the darkroom, and printed it onto paper. Those pictures I took back to school, and some of them were published in the school newspaper, and others were published in the school yearbook. And of course, that was a great sense of pride to make a photograph that was good enough that it got published by the school newspaper or the yearbook. So my first summer job as a kid was mowing lawns. And what that experience taught me is that sometimes it makes sense to save up and plan for the future and get something that you really want and something that has a lot more value, as opposed to just squandering resources on unimportant things. So that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I invite you to put comments below, and I hope you join us in future videos. See you soon.